Hello and welcome back to Magnetic Pod. If you're a content creator of any kind, you might sometimes have to consider whether to put a trigger warning on what you're posting. I'd love to know what your thoughts are about that. And that's what I want to discuss today. I've seen some discussions about it and I thought I'll stick my 2 cents in and my perspective.
Hey, my name is Olivia D'Souza. I'm dedicated to helping multi-passionate entrepreneurs turn their dreams into reality by building a career and a life they love and making a positive impact in the world. I'm a podcast and social media manager, a singer-songwriter, a kids music creator, a fadishta, a wife and a mum. I'm the secret weapon behind many 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs, helping them shine a light and call in the people they are here to serve. And now I'm here to help you. This podcast is here to help you learn and be inspired. You'll learn about podcasting, lead generation, business, and all about the real life stories of people behind the businesses, just like you. Think of it as a place to hang out with your like-minded business bestie who gets what it's like. So grab a cuppa and hit subscribe so we can hang out again. This is Magnetic Pod, the podcast.
I am here and I'm ready to be brave. Cannot miss me, I'll stand on every stage. I'm available for my destiny to reach my people. Gonna be a star, so if you...
So somewhere along the line, I became aware that trigger warnings were a thing and I had to consider which posts to start putting them on, whether it was for my content or I remember having a discussion as one of the admins of the Mum Life Community Facebook group that I used to be part of running that group, and we had to post something to do with having a baby, with trying to have a baby or something. Can't remember exactly now, but I do remember saying, that maybe we should put a trigger warning on it, and somebody else saying, why? And being completely oblivious to why you'd need a trigger warning, even though we did discuss trigger warnings for various posts. And to me, it was because, well, I knew the pain of going through infertility. So it was something I knew can be triggering. And she's like, oh, okay. But there's been discussions lately about whether it's actually helpful or not. I like to listen to Mamma Mia Out Loud with Mia Freeman and Holly Rainwright I think, and Claire Stevens. And they were having a discussion about it. And Mia tends to be a bit resistant to the idea of putting trigger warnings on things, although I think she does because she's part of a whole media group with a team who have different opinions and they end up going on things. But there's the whole discussion about whether they actually help. And part of the problem is, how do you know what to put it on? How do you know what things actually trigger people? And are we supposed to contort the whole world to try to anticipate what every individual within that world might be upset by? Now, of course, we all do actually care, and if you're creating content, it's because you're trying. The people that I deal with anyway, the people in my world are creating content because they're trying to do something in the world that is positive. So they actually do care about the people listening. So I've been pondering whether trigger warnings help genuinely or whether they are a thing that we do because we think we're supposed to and think we should. But if they're not truly helpful, then are we doing something good, or does it start to become a performative thing where you do it to look good, do it so you don't get criticised, and do it so you can tick the box of doing the right thing, but is it actually helpful? So another podcast I listened to recently was The Imperfects, and they had Dr. Emily on, who I think is a psychologist. She's certainly qualified in the area anyway. She talked about why trigger warnings exist and what a trigger is. So I think there's triggers as in layman's terms, and we all generally talk about triggers in terms of a thing that happens and then we get upset. But in the professional arena, then when they say trigger, they are referring to something that causes a person with actual trauma, as in post-traumatic stress disorder, to actually have a flashback. And a flashback is not just a memory. It's not an unpleasant memory. It's not crying. It's not being upset. It is bigger than that. It is actually experiencing, again, in your mind and in your body, the traumatic event all over again, and not being able to tell that it's not actually real and not actually happening in the present moment. I first came to understand the concept of a flashback when I read Carrie Bailey's book, I'm trying to remember what it's called. Oh, yes, Flying on Broken Wings, which is an amazing book, and I highly recommend it. It covers a heavy topic, but she does it in such a way that her mission with writing the book was to focus on the positive and the healing. But what happened to her is that as a child, as I'm about to launch into this, so I'm thinking, should I put a trigger warning on what I'm saying? I'm so conflicted. Anyway, she had traumatic events happen to her as a child at the hands of her father. And yeah, it was horrific. She went through horrific things, but then throughout her life, she had flashbacks. And through reading that book, I realized, oh, wow, flashbacks. I thought flashbacks was just a memory, but a flashback is reliving. So it's a big deal. So going back to what Dr. Emily had to say, however, she said that the research undoubtedly says that continually avoiding any chance of being exposed to anything triggering actually doesn't help. So to really get her message, I highly recommend searching the imperfects and looking for the episode with Dr. Emily talking about this, so that you can get it from her directly rather than me trying to remember what she said and regurgitate it. But she, that doesn't actually really help, is what the research found. In the end of the podcast, they all decided they were going to keep doing trigger warnings anyway, as a courtesy, I guess. But I was a little... I don't know whether it's a truly helpful thing. The other point that Mia makes is that, for one thing, everyone's got different triggers, and you can't just sort of not talk about anything, and you can't know what anything's going to be triggering. And she also mentioned the idea of, well, what about if you're writing a book or you're writing a movie and there's a plot twist? You can't do a plot twist if you've got to flag every single thing. The upshot is, I guess, that Dr. Emily settled on is that if you handle something, it's not really whether it's got a trigger warning or not. It's just whether you care about who's there, whether it's someone who's physically there with you or a listener that you don't know about but that you are creating content for, and that you are sensitive and kind in talking about whatever it might be. I think it's pretty impossible to flag everything that might upset somebody, because I know from personal experience that I have been triggered, and I'm talking layman terms triggered, but I have been upset in my life at happy news from people. And I certainly would not advocate for that no one's allowed to announce happy things in case it upsets somebody. But that is something that potentially can upset someone. I know for years that I would be upset when, scrolling on social media, which probably shouldn't do, but we all do, and you're there just for escapism, and then confronted with someone's pregnancy announcement or someone's birth announcement or their content of their cute, adorable kids doing this, that, and the other thing. And if you are someone who is going through infertility, or if you've had some sort of loss, then that can be quite confronting. And I know for a period of time there were people that I unfollowed that I really liked, and it was not personal at all, but it's a thing that I did. And that's kind of, I guess, my approach of protecting myself. So, and then I'd refollow them when I was over that period of my life. But I think for me, the solution that I will try to land on is, I guess I'm not a fan of trigger warnings because I don't think you can possibly anticipate everything and know what, and I don't want it to become a performative thing. But instead, I would just try to generally in an episode talk about what the content of the episode is going to be. You don't actually have to use those specific words. So I guess in the end, I just don't want to do something that feels performative for me, and I don't want it to be done from a place of wondering what people will think or thinking that I should have ticked this box. I would hope that people can tell that when I am talking about something that I care about them. I care about you. Listener, I care about you. And I would hope that just having an idea of what a topic's about and that it's handled in a way that's caring, that will be enough. I think it's impossible to prevent anybody ever getting upset about anything that you put out there. But at least you can be honest and do things with the best of intentions and actually genuinely wish the best for people. So what do you think? I would love to hear from you. So feel free to comment and let me know. You can reach me on Instagram or LinkedIn or email, any old way. I don't mind, but let me know what you think. We can have a respectful discussion, and there's another kind of a trigger, which is called a glimmer, and these are glimmers that can make you happy. So stick around for my next podcast. I'm going to talk about something a bit more uplifting in my next one. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
I am here and I'm ready to be brave. Cannot miss me, I'll stand on every stage. I'm available for my destiny to reach my people. Gonna be a star, so if you pass on me.
Hello, it's Livy here. Have you ever wondered about what the key elements are that make a podcast truly stand out? Or maybe you're thinking about starting your own special podcast and feel a bit overwhelmed and don't know where to start. Well, I have something for you. Introducing the ultimate podcast checklist. Da, 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 da. It's a step-by-step guide that covers everything from the initial brainstorming to advanced growth strategies. It's the perfect companion for both new and seasoned podcasters. And the best part, it's absolutely free. Da, 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 da. To grab your copy, simply head to the show notes of this episode and you will find a direct link there, and then away you go. Remember, every podcast started with that initial spark and the right resource, so let the ultimate podcasting checklist be yours.